And we're live. All right, hopefully we get some subscribers tuning in on this Saturday morning webcast. Apologize, I've skipped the last couple Saturdays. First it was holidays. Been a little bit more difficult with the schedule, but I'm trying to go back to doing this live every Saturday morning. Okay, so pop in your questions. We'll ask any questions. But today I wanted to talk about online privacy. Because good morning, Charlotte. How are we doing this morning? It's been raining and storming here in Northern California. Actually, Charlotte lives in Northern California too. She lives in San Francisco, but it's sunny here today, so that's been good. But yeah, I want to talk a little about online privacy. Okay, so the internet and electronics and all these things, they're a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, they're amazing, right? Because with a cell phone, I'm able to broadcast to you guys basically with very little technical knowledge, right? Same thing with the internet. We have access to so much information. Some of it's misleading, much of it isn't the truth, but we also have access to a lot of great information. Whether it be news or science articles, most like sort of scientific literature is now on the internet, so you can go read, any sort of engineering or something like that. Same is true with that case law. You can go on the internet and find a lot of case law. If you're wondering about sort of like lawyer practices or like defending yourself, or you have like if you're wondering about the law, we have access to communicate with each other, right? So the internet provides a lot of amazing things, but it's also dangerous because it's trackable in a lot of cases. And we have our electronic things with us all the time now. Even our cars are hooked up to the electronic grid. If you think of new cars nowadays, they have electronic ignitions. They have Wi-Fi systems built into the car itself, along with GPS systems. And so malicious people can even track your car. They can see where you're going. And there's the possibility that they can even control the car, right? A lot of these cars have autopilot now. So if someone with malicious intent wanted to, they could hack into your autopilot and crash your vehicle and possibly kill you, right? So it's important to be wary of your online activities, and preferably protect yourself as much as you can using encryption. Okay, so I wanted to talk about some of the services that I use and that I like to protect my privacy, right? So for email, start with email. Email is one of those common web applications, right? I use email every day. Most of my communication with my clients is, in fact, through email, okay? So I use email all the time, okay? So my favorite email now is Proton Mail. So you can go look it up. Just type in Proton Mail and you'll go to their website and you can sign up for a free account. There's a paid account. There's tiers. You get a free Proton Mail account, and then you can get certain add-ons that have certain benefits, right? So you can pay like $10 a month for some added. You get like more than one address. You get like custom themes and stuff. I think I just have the basic. I think for a while I had the paid one, but I realized it wasn't worth it. It's kind of hot in here. I'm taking my beanie off. So how's the hair, everyone? So yeah, I like Proton Mail a lot. Okay, so Proton Mail is the most secure email that I've found. It's based in Switzerland, and how it works is it uses encryption from end to end. And so it's best for if you're afraid anyone might be snooping on your emails. It's very important to be aware. Like when you're using Gmail, or you're using most of these email providers like Yahoo, or the most common ones people use. It's very easy for the companies themselves, or for government agencies, or other people with malicious intent to read your emails. Okay, so in most cases, you should actually just assume that your data that you're being watched on the internet. unless you take active precautions, right? If you're just using the normal default browser, using your normal email account, you should just assume that you're being tracked. It is what it is, right? And so Proton Mail is very good for your privacy, right? No one can read the emails because it's all encrypted. Okay, so I like to use Proton Mail. That's what I would use for your base email, especially if you're dealing with sensitive data. For instance, if you're dealing with a lawyer, I would definitely use Proton Mail. Like it's sensitive to you legally, or to your health, or your financials. I would definitely recommend Proton Mail. It's not, if you're just chit chatting with someone, obviously it's not that important, right? But for actual sensitive emails, I would use Proton Mail. Okay. Now for browsers, same thing is true with browsers. Most browsers, like the Chrome browser, the default like Safari on a Mac, or Internet Explorer, they're tracking you as well, right? Not only that, but the websites actually put cookies onto your web browser, and those track you as well. And you have other issues like they'll put malicious software into your computer and things like that. Now, my favorite browser for privacy is Brave browser. Okay, so parts of Chrome are actually open source, and so you can fork the code. And so these guys forked the code of Chrome, and so you can use most of the add-ons that we like, for Google Chrome. But it's much like Proton Mail, right? It's much more secure. You can control your privacy settings. You can even connect to the Tor network, which it's onion routing. For the layperson, it just basically means that you can connect to a sort of peer-to-peer system like BitTorrent for the internet, so that it hides where you're accessing the internet from. Okay, so it hides your where your ISPs, where you're connecting from, basically. Okay, and so you can connect through the Tor network and to the Brave browser. So that's very good, right? And it also blocks a lot of the cookies and stuff that's tracking you, right? And it's all customizable how much you want to block and for which websites you want to block. And so I like the Brave browser a lot. Those are the two big ones, because email and browsing are our two big internet activities. So Proton Mail and Brave browser, those are the two that you should be using to have all the functionality you would want and to have the privacy, right? Yes, that is true, Charlotte. That definitely happens. You can prove it. It happens to me all the time. Yeah, if I talk with my wife about, I don't know, getting a tank top like I'm wearing, yeah, ads for tank tops will pop up. It's basically been proven. You go watch YouTube videos on it. I think they've done even university studies where they've proven that they have targeted ads. Okay, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Any person with malicious intent can listen into your conversations through your cell phone. So let's talk about your cell phone as well. Now, I take my cell phone with me most of the time. Should I? No, because it's tracking me. If your cell phone tracks you and records you even when the cell phone is in it. I mean, the battery's in it. Okay, so it's important that you realize that. The only time that you're not being tracked by your phone is if literally the battery's dead or you take the battery out. And a lot of these phones nowadays, you can't even take the battery out because they're waterproof. Okay, like my phone, I don't even know if I can take the battery out because a lot of them are sealed. And if you break the seal, they're not waterproof anymore, which I could do. It might be worth it it might be worth it if you want to take the battery out of your phone, but you might break the waterproof seal that are in a lot of these phones nowadays. Like my phone is like, you can drop my phone in like 30 minutes in a pool and it'll be waterproof. I have a Galaxy S9. Great question about search engines. Yes, DuckDuckGo is the best search engine. Okay. Now, the search engine thing is multi-thing. Not only with the privacy, but you have to realize that search engines are edited, especially Google. Google does this all the time. Google is controlling what you see. And because they have a monopoly, basically, most people just have learned to trust Google, and they have learned to get their information from Google, and they're passive about it. Google basically controls the flow of information on the internet to a certain extent. And they definitely edit what you can or can't see. Okay, so this is especially true for like conservative type news, right? If an event happens that does not fit Google's agenda, a lot of times it won't pop up on the search. Okay, They also do the same thing with their recommendations, right? So you know how you type into Google and it'll finish the sentence for you. It'll finish the sentence in ways where you can tell they're trying to, have an agenda, right? So they're trying to fill out the search for you so that you get led to certain things. They try to avoid certain sites as much as possible that might conflict with Google's narrative. Okay, so you have to realize it's twofold. Not only is it the privacy issue on a place like Google, you have to realize that they're also controlling what you can or can't see. Okay, so this is very important. So DuckDuckGo does not do that. From my knowledge, they do not edit the search results. It's more pure search result, right? They're going to give you more so what you're searching for, and they're not going to edit what you're going to find. Okay. Also, they're more private. Okay. They don't keep the data like Google does. Google keeps all this data because they can sell it. Okay. You have to realize that all of these companies, Facebook is another one. Facebook keeps everything that you're doing. Okay. So all your Facebook messages, they're not safe. Anything you post on Facebook, everything you do on Facebook and Google is for sale. Okay. To the highest bidder. It could be a malicious government. It could be a hacker. It could be any sort of criminal. They don't care. That's their business model. You have to realize that's their business model, right? Google and Facebook don't build things really. I mean, Google builds some products and Facebook makes some money from like if you run like Facebook ads or Google ads. But you have to realize that the major business model of Facebook and Google is that they collect all the data they can, whether it be through your cell phone, through your Facebook messages, through what you post on Facebook, through your Google searches, through your Gmail. They collect as much data as they possibly can, and they put it into bundles, and they sell it to the highest bidder for as much money as they can get for it. And that's their main business model. So you have to realize that you are their business model. Okay? It's just the truth. You know what I mean? It's not a conspiracy theory that they're selling your data. It's been proven. Everyone, you should be aware of this. And if you're not, you're living under a rock. Okay? And so yes, DuckDuckGo is by far my favorite search engine, and I've changed my default search engine to DuckDuckGo. Okay, so that's 3 so far. For email, you're gonna use Proton Mail. I recommend for your browser, use Brave Browser, and for your search engine, use DuckDuckGo. Okay, those 3. I'm glad that you mentioned the search engine because that's the third big one, right? Those are 3 sort of like major internet activities that besides like your cell phone, right? With your cell phone, there's really not a good solution. If you really need your smartphone on you, there's not really a good solution. You could switch to like a flip phone or something if you need to get just phones and text. You know, sometimes we're addicted to our smartphone and we don't need it as much as we think we do. The most useful thing for me from my cell phone is really just when I'm driving using the GPS capability. Like, yeah. I use my phone a lot when I drive places because it's like what am I going to do? Pull out like an old-fashioned map, and follow my. I guess I mean you could, but it's like especially if you're going on a trip or something and you're not familiar with the area. Obviously, I don't really use the GPS around town where I live, but if I'm ever on a trip or so going somewhere, I use it all the time. It updates you on traffic. It tells you the shortest route. It tells you any accidents up ahead. I even have this. There's the app Waze. It tells you if any cops are around. So if you're speeding, you can see if there's a cop around the corner. So it's very useful. But yes, we are addicted to our cell phones to a certain extent, myself included. Even though cell phones are a useful tool, right? I'm using it right now to record this video. But I would say out of everything, the hardest solution is the cell phone. There might be solutions where you can rootkit the phone, or you actually delete all the data that came on the phone and you rootkit it with your own open source software. That might help, but I think they also put default, it's like embedded software that actually comes on the chips. So I don't know how easy it is to get that off the cell phone so they don't track your conversations and stuff like that. But the cell phone is a huge issue, okay? VPNs are also good. But with the Brave browser, you can add on a VPN, but you don't need a VPN as much. But if you're using Chrome or something like that, I would definitely recommend a VPN. A VPN is another thing. It hides your ISP. So basically, they don't know where you're logging in from. So they can't track you, right? So if you're logging in from somewhere in America, they think you're from Russia. Your ISP becomes like a Russian one or a Ukrainian one or Germany or South America or whatever, right? So VPNs are also quite good. but you should be very wary of what you say, and what you're talking about. You know, this even is in regards to YouTube, right? So this channel's up to almost 4,000 subscribers. You have to realize that there are things that I am still careful about on this YouTube channel because YouTube's controlled by Google. Google and YouTube and even PayPal and all these things, they censor people all the time. You know, YouTube deleted Alex Jones's InfoWars YouTube channel. And this happens with all sorts of alt media. You don't have to be saying anything out of the ordinary. You don't have to be saying anything inflammatory for YouTube to delete your channel, or they do monetization or copyright strikes. You know, YouTube does this all the time. And so I have to be careful what I talk about on YouTube. I can't talk about some of the healing work that I do on this channel because the powers that be, you know, now it's not the opportune time to talk about it, right? Especially things in regards to like autism and like vaccines. Well, I talk about vaccines somewhat, but like some of like the autistic stuff. Just because I don't know, it's not right at this time. Yeah, it is violation of antitrust laws for sure. Google and Facebook break all kinds of laws, but people don't care, and no one's doing anything about it. At some point, hopefully, it will be solved. I think blockchain will play a big part. You know, I want to add on blockchain. You know, blockchain lets you take back a lot of your security as well, more so with financial. But in the future, it will allow you to control your data more. You know, Brave browser actually has a built-in blockchain token that you can use to pay subscribers. It's called the BAT token, Basic Attention Token, and it's a way to tip people online. So there's no really good way to tip, right? You can't really tip using PayPal. The fees are too much, but using the blockchain, you'll be able to tip subscribers. Like, let's say you want to read a news article. Instead of paying a monthly fee, you can pay like 5 or 10 cents to read a news article, right? And it can take it automatically out of your browsing account, right? And so that's a big future as well for your financials and like your private keys on the blockchain. You control a lot more of your data, okay? But that's the three big ones are using Proton Mail for your sensitive emails, especially. Using DuckDuckGo as a search engine, okay? And then what was the other one? DuckDuckGo as your search engine, Proton Mail as your email, okay? And then using the Brave browser for more private internet searches, okay? Those three are the most important, but there's other things you can do as well. Limiting cell phone use is important. Just be careful what you say in general online. You know, nothing electronic is that safe, really. And don't be naive. Okay, that's the most important thing, is to educate yourself and don't be so naive. There are people, governments out there, and even bigger institutions in their governments that want to control us and harm us. And you have to be careful what you say and realize that we don't live in a free society as sometimes we think we do. Okay. So let's see if there's any questions, and I'll answer any questions. Yeah, search engine, yeah, DuckDuckGo, Sugar Pixie. That was a good question, by the way, because I wasn't going to mention it before you said that. Yeah, burner phone's not a bad idea as well. And yes, Google, Facebook, they're all definitely in violation of antitrust laws. Hopefully they will be regulated, and there will be a solution at some point. But for now, we should do the best we can. I would limit, I would limit most Facebook use in general, but definitely don't. You have to realize any sort of message you send to someone, anything you post, it is all being collected. It is all being sold to the highest bidder. Okay, so just realize that. Anytime you're on Facebook or Google, some of these other companies, even with your cell phone, everything you say, everything you send to someone, everything you post, it is all being collected, it's all being aggregated. They have a file on everyone, and it's sold to the highest bidder. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, there's good ideas for using the algorithms for sure, but don't underestimate their cleverness. All right, guys, I'm gonna hop off. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll put links. When it's done uploading, I'll put links to some of the the digital stuff that I like for keeping your privacy. Cloud storage, yes, cloud storage. If it's in the cloud, you don't have control of it unless it's encrypted through like the blockchain or something. I don't know that specific company, but in most instances, if it's up in the cloud, you don't control it, and they can read it all. So I don't recommend those cloud storage. I prefer local storage. You should have backups of all your sensitive data, digital files on your own USB drives, preferably encrypted. You should preferably even encrypt your flash drives, but you should have own physical backups. Okay, just like you should have physical gold and silver, you should have physical backups of all your data. Okay, don't trust anything on the cloud. Yeah, DuckDuckGo is the best I've seen. There might be something better, but there's not as much competition with search engines because there's so much info to aggregate. You know, the big three are obviously Google's the dominator, followed by Bing, which is a Microsoft product, which I also wouldn't trust, but followed by DuckDuckGo. Out of the three that are actually useful, I would recommend DuckDuckGo by far. It is the best, by far the most private. And they don't edit the search results as much. So yeah,